Malacanang describes Vice President Sara Dutertes' tenure as Department of Education Chief a complete failure after she said the Philippines is falling behind other countries in education. Duterte earlier said the country remains at what she called a paper and pencil level compared to nations with modernized education systems. In a briefing on Wednesday, August 20, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro says Duterte herself had the opportunity to lead DepEd and implement the very reforms she is now urging.
Binigyan po siya ng pagkakataon, pinagtiwalaan siya ng Pangulo since 2022 hanggang 2024 para maging DepEd Secretary. 2 taon halos na siya ay dapat nagtrabaho. Kung ano man ang kanyang nireklamo, dapat natupad na po sana niya ito sa kanyang panahon. Ang pagtitiwalang ito ay sa kanyang reklamo ngayon, nagre-reflect lamang na bilang siya ay naging DepEd Secretary ay a complete failure.
Duterte served as Education Secretary from June 2022 to June 2024. Without specifying a reason, Duterte resigned as DepEd Chief, saying it was out of genuine concern for teachers and the Filipino youth. During the briefing, Castro tells teachers and students not to worry, saying that current Education Secretary Sonny Angara is already addressing the problems Duterte left at the agency.
At huwag pong mag-alala mga mag-aaral at mga guro at mga teaching staff, ang ating DepEd Secretary Angara, ay nililinis naman kung ano man ang dumi na iwan nung nakaraan. At komodernizasyon lamang ang pinag-uusapan natin, yung 1,500,000 na mga gadgets, laptops, at ibang mga teaching materials ay ginawa naman na po ng paraan ni Secretary Angara na nakabinbin lamang noong pang 2020 na hindi nagamit. So 2024 lamang ito nasa sa ayos ni Secretary Angara.
Speaking at a program in Kuwait, Duterte said that while other countries have modernized their education systems, the Philippines remained stuck at a paper and pencil stage. She added that students abroad are already engaged in robotics and coding, while the Philippines continues to struggle to catch up. Malacanang is dismissing Senator Robin Padilias' bill requiring public officials to undergo annual mandatory drug testing, saying it is unconstitutional. Padilla filed Senate Bill No. 1200 on Monday, August 18. It states that as employees of public offices, officials must be subject to accountability measures such as mandatory random drug testing. However, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro says the proposed measure violates the right to privacy. She warns that the senator may only end up wasting government resources.
Sana po ay nabasa niya na po ang desisyon ng Korte patungkol po dito. Social Justice Society versus Dangerous Drugs Board 2008, kung saan hindi po hinahayaan at ito ay labag sa konstitusyon at sa privacy kung lahat po, pag sinabi po natin lahat, universal testing, mandatory universal or universal testing. Ang allowed lamang po ay ang random drug testing. So baka magsayang lang po ng oras at pera, pondo, si Senator Robin Padilla. Aralin po muna niya po ang nais niyang gawing batas.
Castro also clarifies that she is questioning the bill's unconstitutionality and not the drug testing itself. Under Padillas' proposed Drug-Free Government Act, testing will be done in 2 ways. First, through a hair follicle drug test to detect drug use and identify the substance, and second, through a urine drug test to confirm any positive results. Under the proposed measure, any official who tests positive for drug use will face administrative action, which could lead to suspension or removal from office depending on applicable law. Senate President Francis Escudero says local government executives such as governors and city mayors should actively take part in the Senate public hearings on the proposed 2026 national budget. In a statement, Escudero says local officials have been sidelined for too long and should now be given a seat at the table. Escudero is proposing to Finance Committee Chair Senator Win Gatchalian the inclusion of local officials in deliberations on the 2026 national spending package. This marks a break from the long-standing practice that excluded them from the legislative crafting of the country's most important expenditure measure. Escudero points out that local chief executives are the leaders responsible for implementing many of the projects in the budget proposal, so he believes they should be given a venue to air their views regarding the national budget. The Senate leader says local government executives can help vet and verify whether projects in the proposed budget truly respond to the needs of their constituents. Escudero notes that many projects have historically been listed in the budget without consulting local government units, often due to politics. He says this results in wasteful spending and white elephant projects. He believes the feedback of local officials are too important to ignore. The proposed national budget for 2026 is at 6.793 trillion pesos. A West Philippine Sea monitor says there are now 2 Chinese research vessels in the vicinity of Scarborough Shoal days after the collision of their own ships there. In a social media post on Wednesday, August 20, Sea Light Director Ray Powell says the autonomous mothership Zhuhai-yun arrived in Scarborough on Monday, August 18. Meanwhile, Powell says the deep-sea research ship Xiangyang Hongten has been in the area since August 15. The 2 ships were spotted south of Scarborough Shoal on Wednesday morning. On August 11, a collision occurred between a People's Liberation Army Navy warship and a China Coast Guard vessel, which was pursuing a Philippine Coast Guard ship. Both Chinese ships suffered damage, with China Coast Guard 3104's forecastle being crushed and 4 of its crew went overboard. On the other hand, the PCG's BRP Suluan managed to evade the maneuver. Powell said on August 12 that Chinese ships were seen in the area in a parallel sweep track, which he said was indicative of a search and rescue operation. Zhuhai-yun can deploy more than 50 air, surface, and subsea drones, but Powell says its purpose is definitely not search and rescue. Powell says Zhuhai-yun first loitered briefly off Scarborough Shoal from July 26 to 27 on its way down to the Spratly Islands area. Since its effective control in 2012, Beijing conducts what Powell termed as exclusion zone enforcement in Scarborough Shoal, flouting the 2016 Arbitral Award, which declared the shoal a shared fishing ground of China, Vietnam, and the Philippines.